Tonight, some disk space reclamation. What am I talking about here? Well, we've got ourselves a hard drive, and it's thin provisioned. Pretty common thing to do, right? We got a 80 gig Windows hard drive, thin provisioned right there. You can see it. All right, and you'll see right there. It says 31.7 gig in the data store available. Head over here to the data store view and go to inside the VM. And you'll see the size of the files resting on the file system. What if we just go to summary view? 31.6. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to free up a huge amount of space inside the VM. Why? Because this VM has been upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. And I actually have a previous article talking about how I did that. Now, when you're done with doing such a massive upgrade, you're going to want to run disk cleanup. Hit the Windows key and type cleanup. What you'll see is a massive amount of storage savings by getting rid of the ability to roll backwards out of the backup. I already have a copy of this. You can do snapshots or backups, but whatever your reasoning, you may not want to keep 25 gig of files sitting around. So right there, previous Windows installations. It's about to calculate and show me. Here's the verdict. If you go ahead and delete this, there's no returning back to Windows 7. You're on Windows 10. And I'm ready to make that commitment right now. So it's a large amount of disk space. Are we going to see that reflected in the data store? Well, we'll find out. Let's go back here to this view. Get a little more granular. Go to Manage Files. All right. So here's how things look now. And we can sort by size. All right, so 68, 530 at the top there. Scroll down a bit. There's the big one. Windows installation files, you can get rid of those too. Error dumps. And upgrade log files, don't really need those either. So I'm about to have a massive savings. Now inside the VM, before we kick that off, let's have a look there. I want to try to better understand what I'm doing here. Okay, so the drive is showing about 60% or so. Okay, so free space 36.9. A warning, you sure you want to do that? All right, took about a minute, but it finished up. So now you'll see we went from like 55% full to, I don't know, 30%. Hit F5 in this screen, and the bar went way to the left. All right, that's fine. So from a VM's perspective, we freed up gobs of space. But if we look here, did anything change? No. So what we want to do here is defrag. Defragment and optimize drives. Now this is an SSD, mind you, that it's resting on. Notice it knows it's an SSD. So the virtual machine is passing the attribute of the VMFS data store that we're on really is an SSD. And I need to take a moment to show you that, because again, I want to try to get some understanding here. And it says drive type flash. So yeah, it knows this run core or SATA 3 SSD is an SSD. That gives us this capability to go ahead and optimize. All right, so what do you do when it won't let you optimize? Well, then you might be stuck with something like sdelete, which takes forever to run, or flipping some bits that turn off change block tracking on this VM. Then we can free up that storage. So things are a bit clumsy in the virtualization world as far as freeing up data stores. This article I'm about to show you helps explain or summarize what I just said. So on Windows, you can use something called sdelete. Then when that's done, you can try to reclaim space with VMFS tools. So let me go ahead and show you that. If we try to free up space now, watch what happens. Okay, let me bring up the free up space command on the left, then me typing it and actually doing it on the right. So here's our files. Let's see if we get any change by running this. Now, it's a bit of a trick here because the thing is running, right? So let's shut this thing down. And let's see what happens then. Let's take a look at the files again. And tunnel ultimate VM. Okay. So now it's going to attempt to free up some space. So remember, I'm on a savvy modern operating system, on an ESXi 6 modern savvy hypervisor that knows when a flash drive is underlying the VMFS data store. And Windows itself is savvy about SSDs. This hole punching appears to be going pretty quickly. So pretty soon we'll know if I had any help by running this without doing the sdelete step first. Let me show you sdelete right here. You can track and zero out unused blocks. So I'll let this finish. I'll resume the video. All right, that didn't take long at all. I don't know, it's maybe 5 minutes total. So we're good there. How are we doing here? Not so good. So what we're facing is the stark reality that unless we monkey around with the settings of the VM, and that's done here, and make it so change block tracking won't work, which would affect backup products. So I'd have to go into advanced and edit the config and add some parameters and turn off CBT. It seems kind of harsh. So given the VM is not that enormous, I had another one that had terabytes of data to deal with. This one's not so bad, so I can cope with using sdelete on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and install sdelete, which is a tiny executable from sysinternals, Mark Rusinovich at Microsoft. It looks like Edge is going to Bing, but that's fine because it worked. Download sdelete. Tiny file, right? All right, got the folder open. Don't really need the browser anymore. All right, so sdelete is a utility, or need to extract it. And run it. Okay, so we had an article talking about sdelete and how you use it. You just type sdelete in the drive. You don't launch it from the UI, all right? So I'm going to open up an admin command prompt. And it's the C drive in my case. So where did downloads? It's a pain. I did not put it in a wonderful directory. Let's do something a little better, like have a utility folder. All right, sdelete and C, sorry, -Z, and then the drive letter. And there she goes, zeroing the free space. Not the biggest font in the world I have over here for you. Let me zoom in a little bit on that for you. But you can see that's clearly a lowercase z. So the syntax is rather straightforward. Okay, so it looks like that'll be done pretty soon. Now in the VM, we're not going to see any difference in disk space, right? We already see that we have a lot more free space. Well, interesting. What is it doing? All right, well, let's see what that number looks like when it's done. Again, I'll resume video when it's done. All right, so it's almost done. And it is done. Calls it a drive zapped, which is interesting terminology. I hit F5, and it went to the left again. All right, so we got a little interesting insight into what it's actually doing there and tricking the numbers. But okay, so now things should be more interesting. Okay, we already know I can hit refresh here and it's still going to show full size, right? I got to use that putty session and just simply hit up arrow and let her rip again. But it would help if I'd shut it down first. Wouldn't just help, it's required. Okay, we're good. Up arrow, enter, let her rip. Again, I'll resume recording video when it's done. Okay, the last 10% went quick. It's now like 3 minutes later or so. So now what do we have? Nothing. Go back to the data store view and hit refresh here. It did work. Awesome. Now, interesting that you don't see that here. Basically at putty, it's lying to you. But the UI is telling us that now that the data store is less full and we have more free storage. Look at that. That's a pretty big difference you just saw when I hit refresh. So this is exciting in that it's a pretty straightforward way to tell the average home user that might have themselves a vSphere data center in their home, a home lab, that if your virtual machine is not too ridiculously huge and you're talking about 50 gig of data or something, not 3 terabytes, which took me overnight when I was cleaning that mess up, you got yourself a pretty good easy way to clean things up when you have a massive file deletion like you typically do have right after you upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So, hopefully you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching and for visiting tinkertry.com.